Greetings everyone, I'm Kevin, and today I'm going to do something that I don't think I've ever done on my channel before, and it's a rant review. Specifically, this book. First of all, I'm not making this video as a way to say that don't ever read this book, it's horrible, don't waste your time, or this author is horrible, can't write, or is not talented, or anything like that. That is not the point of this video. The point of this video is to let you know the reasons why I personally DNFed it, the parts of this book that I personally did not like, in a way to maybe help you. If you're considering reading this book and you come across this review and you feel like, yeah, those things that you bring up that you're bothered by, I'm not bothered by that. I think that sounds fun. Great. And the thing is, like, for me, there are many books in TV shows and movies that I went into after watching reviews, like bad reviews. I've watched reviews of books that people said, like, I hated this book because of da 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 da. And I watched it and I felt like I would love this book. Like, I watched these videos of people talking about books that they hated, and I felt like I would love this book. In the same way with movies. For example, there was back in after late 2021, I think, people everywhere on the internet talked very badly about the movie Cinderella. And I personally, after watching these reviews of people just hating Cinderella, I felt like I would love this movie. So I watched the movie and I absolutely loved it. I consider it one of my favorite movies. I adore that movie. And that just goes to say that just because one person or multiple people hate on a movie or a story, that doesn't mean that watching that or listening to that review would completely make you decide not to enjoy it or try it. And so, as I said, the point of this review isn't to convince you to not read the book. It is instead to make you aware of the problems that I saw in the book that maybe you would be bothered by, or maybe you wouldn't be bothered by. Who's to say? So, quick summary of the book. We follow Jolene and Jason. Jolene's sister is married to his best friend, and these two had kind of a conflict or some kind of argument at the wedding. Many years after the wedding, they don't get along and they end up having to travel across the country together because Jolene's sister and Jason's best friend are moving across the country. And so they asked the sister and asked the best friend, to the married couple who are moving, they help them moving. And it was a last minute change. Jolene was supposed to go across the country with her dad, but then the dad had other things that he had to do, so he had to cancel last minute. And so that Jolene wouldn't go alone, they made so that Jason would tag along and help her out. So the two of them end up being in this road trip together. That's the plot. And I'm going to read what it says on the back. So it says, this road to love may have a few speed bumps. When Jolene Baxter offered to help her sister and brother-in-law move halfway across the country, she didn't foresee the last-minute changes that will leave her making the journey with the one person she can't stand. Jason Akana is similarly unenthused about driving with the woman he publicly argued with 5 years ago at his best friend's wedding. Pigs would fly before they'd get along. But a lot of things can happen in 16 hours, especially when car problems, an unplanned pit stop, and chemistry are involved. Once the dust settles after their trip, can these two stubborn people successfully navigate the unexpected feelings that follow close behind? Or will they hit a roadblock before reaching happily ever after? So with that with this, I felt like I would love this book. I even had it as kind of a 5-star prediction. I was convinced I would love this book because that sounds amazing. I wouldn't be making this video if that was the case. So going through the things on the back that are inaccurate. So first of all, it is very clear on the back that these two people, they can't stand each other. Pigs would fly before they'd get along. So you get in your head that, okay, you will have a lot of banter, you would have a lot of these two people arguing. They really, really don't like each other. Pigs would fly before they'd get along. Like, it's practically or almost impossible before they get along. That's what I had in mind when I read this. Maybe you interpret it differently, I don't know. But the thing is, pigs would fly before they'd get along. It took like 20 pages. So that's the first thing. Like, I get it, you don't want to sit in awkward silence, but the conversation that they made didn't feel like two people who really, really, really can't stand each other or can't get along. They wouldn't talk. They wouldn't have that conversation. In my opinion, they wouldn't. Like, I just felt like, okay, what? So that is one thing. The next thing it's that it says, but a lot of things can happen in 16 hours. I know that they refer to the travel with the car, that the road trip part is 16 hours. But a lot of things when it comes to like the 16 hours part is inaccurate, because like it hadn't gone 16 hours when there was car trouble and they had to like go to a small town and stay at a B&B. And I think they spent 2 days at this B&B. So the whole thing, like a lot of things can happen in 16 hours. It was more like 48 hours and not 16. And the whole like, especially when car problems, an unplanned pit stop and chemistry are involved. Like, yes, that is accurate. But the whole like 16 hours thing, it's not that short amount of time. It's a lot longer. And also like the road trip aspect of this is a very, very, very short amount of the book. Most of the book is not road trip. The main part of the book is not road trip. They're not in the car for most of the book. They arrive at their destination 40% into the book. And in the first part, 40%, a lot of it, over half of that, is not on the road. It's in this small town. So, and also, when it comes to this car problem that they had very early in the book, why didn't they call the sister and the brother-in-law? Because they said very early that they were driving first, and then a few hours later, the sister and her husband were driving as well. So they were a few hours after. So why not just call and say, hey, we took a different route, and we are having some problems with the car. Can you come and help us? I don't understand. Like, it was never explained why they couldn't do that. So I don't know why they couldn't do that. If you know, please let me know, because I was very confused. I didn't understand why they didn't do that. And then another thing is that, again, the whole they can't stand each other, pigs will fly before they get along. They share a bed at page 36. Also, that's how short the road trip part was. Because they was like page 15, they got in the car, and at page 30 something, they had car troubles and ended up in this small town, staying at a hostel or B&B. And on page 36, they shared a bed. And like, I get it, the whole one bed thing. I get it, I know. And I'm not against the one bed trope, or the one bedroom room trope. But the issue that I see is that I would have preferred if the first night they said that, no, I can't stand you, I am never going to share a bed with you. The relationship kind of that's what I get from the back, that they really can't stand each other, that they would rather sleep on the floor, both of them, than share a bed. So I feel like for the first night that they have this small one bedroom room, that one of them would say like, hey, I'm not sharing a bed with you, I'm gonna sleep on the floor. Because there are romance stories, like books and movies and TV shows, that have two people who are friends not wanting to share a bed, where one of them sleeps on the floor to be respectful to the other person. They're friends. So I feel like two people who can't stand each other, that pigs would fly before they get along, I don't think they would share a bed together. I think at least one of them would be like, I'm gonna sleep on the floor. I'm not gonna share a bed with you. I'm gonna sleep on the floor. And then like have the first night be like that, and then maybe the person who sleeps on the floor is like, oh my god, I can't sleep, my back hurts. And then the other person who has the bed says, hey, sleep on the bed as well. We're gonna be sleeping anyways. That it would have, not immediately been like, okay, we're gonna share a bed. Because it sounds on the back like they would rather sleep like on opposite ends of a forest than share a bed. So that's why that bothered me. And also, as I said, in other romance stories, the first night they have a one bed scenario. They don't share the bed, and then a few nights after or a different trip later, they share the bed. So I would have wished that this story would have done something like that as well. Like, the main issue that I have with this book, as you probably noticed, is that on the back they sell a story of two people who can't stand each other. It's basically impossible that they'd get along. And they share a bed at page 36 and they kiss on like page 50. Like, I expected more of a strong dislike to lovers, a slow burn romance kind of thing. And on page 50 they kiss. And what? Like, that's weird to me. I just felt so annoyed reading this book. I felt like, seriously? Already? Though I must say that the first time that they have sex, I love that, how the whole consensual thing, how they did that, how they went about, how they kind of communicated the way before they had sex. Like, I really appreciated that, but I think that should have been 100 pages later than when it was. And also, as I said, the road trip aspect of this book was barely, like, it was barely there. They were barely in a car for most of the book. I think maybe like 20% of the book they were actually in a road trip in a car. So that annoyed me as well. So the whole thing with this being a road trip romance, that it was this strong dislike to lovers romance, that it was they can't stand each other, pigs would fly before they get along romance. No, that's not this book. So I feel my main issue with this book is that from reading the back of it, I expected a story that did not match this story. And I think the issue here is not the story itself. I'm not saying that I hate the book or the way that it's written. I think I would actually enjoy this book if I knew what I was getting myself into. If there was a better synopsis of this book, if it wasn't sold the way that if it wasn't selling this that is inaccurate, I think I would maybe actually have enjoyed this book. But because I went into this book thinking that what it says that it is what it is, I was sold a story that I didn't receive. And that's what bothered me a lot. So when I read this book, I got so annoyed because the book is not what it promised to be. And that's my issue. So this review is not, I DNFed this book because I hated it. The offer is horrible, not talented. The book is crap, don't read it. That's not this. This book promises something that it does not keep. And I think if I would come with a suggestion, rewrite the back. Rewrite the synopses, rewrite the whole back of it, the summary of it, because it's inaccurate. Yeah, that's it. That's this rant review. I hope that by watching this video and listening to my critique of the book, that you feel like you have a better understanding of what you can expect from the book. And as I said, this is not me hating the book or the way that it's written or the characters or anything like that. This is me critiquing a book that I really, really strongly disliked because I expected something from what it says, which I did not get. So thank you so much for watching. If you've read this or you have any questions, I don't know, please write them down below in the comments section, and I will see you next time. Good reading. Bye.